In the frenetic world of business, largely disconnected from emotion, from joy, from well-being, there are certain individuals that are charting a new way forward. This is Redefining Success with Emma and Iona, and today we are going to be hearing from some of those pioneers. So welcoming Emma, my co-host.
Welcome, Iona.
And we also welcome to the show today, Nikki and Michael Vasconez. Welcome, Nikki and Michael.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, so Nikki is an animal communicator and teacher. And Michael is a transformational guide and life coach. They're both creating this soul-led business together. So we've got the beautiful pleasure of receiving their wisdom today in going deeper into what beats at the heart of a soul-led business and what they are doing to carve this path out for themselves.
So traditionally we begin our sessions with a meditation and an invitation to return to self, to connect with self, with each other and the one life. So if you don't fancy that, then please fast forward to the discussion. And if you do, then it's time now to close your eyes and Iona will guide us through that.
Yes, as Emma said, thank you, Emma. The invitation is just to become internal. And if it helps to close your eyes, just coming back to the self, taking a deep breath in together, allowing that breath to fill us up, every cell. And as we're breathing out, just allowing ourselves to come deeper into our bodies, into the earth that holds us. And just becoming aware of how your body feels right now as you're with yourself. Inviting all parts to be here. And with our breath, just seeing if there's a little bit more relaxation we can invite with the out breath. And as we come into this deeper connection with ourselves, simultaneously becoming aware of the field that we're creating together. Our hearts joining, the energy field around us. And from this place, just connecting to the one life that connects us all, that flows through us. And we ask that this energy, this intelligence that we are a part of, guide us today and reveal what needs to be seen and heard to anchor a new way of love and connection on this earth. And so it is.
And so may it be.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for joining us, Nikki, Michael. It's such an honor to have you today. And from what I know of you guys, what I feel stands at your core is just integrity around how you're choosing to live. And we would love to start off today just by hearing from you and how you got started on this path of business that you're on today.
So it's pretty an amazing story, and I'm really proud of both of us for where we are, because I used to be a full-time attorney and I was super miserable. I had like an hour and a half to a 2-hour commute one way every day. I would get up at 4 a.m. I wouldn't get home until like 6:30, 7 p.m. And I knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I didn't know what else there was to do because I didn't have any hobbies or skills that I thought I was good at to do anything else, like for my own business. And it got to a point where I just knew that I couldn't stay where I was as an attorney. And it was making me sick. It was both of my eyes were twitching at separate times. Like it was, I just, something inside of me just knew something needed to change. Um, so I started looking at just any jobs near me. And it was really funny. So I had a job lined up that I thought I was going to get because everything went really well. And they called me and said, you know what, you're overqualified. We're not going to take you for this position. And I was so upset because I just was certain I was going to get it. And I had already found my replacement at the law firm. So I called Mike and I was crying. He was like, just quit anyway. I'm like, what? What do you mean just quit anyway? I have student loans. He's like, we'll figure it out. And I was like, okay. So I ended up at a local wellness center, and one of the massage therapists there could talk to animals. And we have two dogs. We had three dogs at the time. And I was like, what? Because I never had heard of such a thing. I never knew animal communication existed. I never had any conscious experiences of it that I was aware of. So I just started researching it and looking into books and just kind of practicing. And I say very quickly now, but at the moment it didn't seem very quickly, but I eventually convinced myself that I really could do this. So I started doing it part-time, and then I eventually went part-time lawyer, part-time animal communicator, and then in July of 2021, I resigned from the law firm for good and started this animal communication business. And it's been amazing having Mike next to me for this because I call him my researcher. He loves to research things and YouTube things like microphones and email marketing platforms. And I don't like doing any of that. I just get overwhelmed. I'm just like, tell me what to do, tell me what works, and I'll do it. Right. So it's just been a really great journey for the last, I guess, 5 years now of just building this business from the ground up. And it's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I support her in the background. I do a lot of the marketing, and I also now kind of take over all the strategy sessions. I would say I do like 80% of them, which it's pretty time consuming. You know, you're on the computer all day long and doing enrollments and things like that. They're essentially sales calls, but we do not call them that. There's a special format that we follow and the way that we present ourselves, that it's not in a sales energy. We really only want to attract in the right people. So we don't really come across like that. And I just, I saw firsthand when she wanted to start this process, I kind of had a vision of what it could be. And up until that, the life coaching training that I went through and everything, I did a lot of, I was around the right people that taught me how to make a brand, what marketing really is, and things like that. And I was able to just kind of expand into that on my own research. And so I just kind of knew right off the bat where to kind of push her to go. She had a lot of resistance in the beginning. A lot of people downplay social media, but it's a silly thing to do because they're leaving a lot of money on the table. They're leaving a lot of exposure on the table. So I tried to show her that like social media is the future. Yes, it's a negative. It's feeding you in a good way or it can feed you in a bad way. It's really however it's going to feed you. And if you let it master your own self, then it's going to take control of you. You really have to have control over it, use it the right way. So, and I can honestly say, like, we have used it the right way. Sometimes we can get lost in it. And we take breaks from it, and it can consume like anything else. But it definitely lit a fire under her message to the world, and I kind of was in the background, just kind of pushing her in these different directions as I was kind of building up my life coaching business, which I kind of realized at the same time that I did not want to do my work full time. Like the way that I work with people, I do not want to do it full time, and I don't really think it's possible to do the work that I do full time. I don't think I wouldn't be able to. It's very it's a very unique energy. So, and it's not something that I want to push and try to pay bills with and things like that. my heart's in it, and I let it kind of grow and take wherever it needs to go. But this is something we can really dive in and really push and light a fire under. So it was a really cool thing to start, because 7 years ago we realized we did not want to work a 9 to 5 job. We did not want to work and leave our. One day we knew we were going to have a kid, and we were like, I don't want somebody else raising my kid. I don't want somebody else. I don't want my kid to go to school. I want to homeschool our kid that we want to have in the future. And the only way that we were going to be able to do that is if we had a home business. So 7 years ago, we didn't know how it was going to happen. We just knew that's what we wanted to do. And slowly but surely, finally, we're just in that point now where, we're really, we recently moved and bought a new house, and like all of every single aspect of our lives is being supported by what she created and what we're kind of building.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a really inspiring transformational journey that you've been on. And I was really interested to hear when you said about social media, because that's like that worries a lot of people this day and age, especially with kids on their phones all the time. And I think that point that you said about mastering it and how to use it is really vital in comparison to it controlling us and controlling the new generations coming up. So how do you can you expand on how you bring that and use that into from an aligned soul, intuitive, heart-centered business, so people listening could get some insight in how to do that, how to use technology, social media in a way that's beneficial and expanding and something that can touch people in beautiful ways rather than being so detrimental to mental health, particularly with the younger generations coming up.
Yeah, it's something Mike said in the very beginning. Well, actually, what he said earlier to us today was that I had a lot of resistance. I had resistance to everything. I didn't want to do social media. I didn't want to create a newsletter. I didn't want to create an online course, because for me, I have trouble like seeing something that it seems like a massive mountain to climb. Like I'm just like, I want to talk to animals and teach people how to do it. But in my mind at that time, I couldn't fathom having a whole online program teaching people how to do it. I was like, I don't even know how I would start. So he mentioned a couple times like pushing me in the right direction, and we now have all of that. And the way that we got here really was through social media and intentional use of social media, because in the modern world, if you want to build a global online business, if like social media is free, so why would you not use it? But you have to use it the right way. And what Mike always says to our students is, because now we have a whole program teaching people how to create businesses as an animal communicator. What he always says to our students is social media is a business strategy. It's a business tool. Like you have to strategically use it. Otherwise you get lost in mindless scrolling. So it really just comes down to the awareness of what you're doing and the intention behind it. So for me, it's I'm using social media to help reach people all over the world. You guys are in the UK, right? It's like we have 15 different countries in our program. So it's like just the awareness of, okay, what am I using this for? What do I want to accomplish? And our underlying goal is just to reach people across the world to help inform them that they too have the ability to escape their soul crushing 9 to 5 job and do something they freaking love, but they can also support themselves with. But it does take conscious awareness, because you can very easily get stuck just scrolling and down the rabbit holes of the comment section and all of that. I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned kids. Like, I would not recommend a kid be on it, like at all. Like maybe if your kid, like if somebody had a child and they would ask me my recommendation, I would be like, if let's say I had a kid, and social media is going to be in a totally different world in 15 years, but I'd be like, if my kid would be under like 15 years old, I would do everything in my power to not have that child on social media. And then if it has an idea I mean, there's millionaires, there's 16, 17, 18-year-old kids making millions of dollars a year with an idea and creating something. you teach them how to create on it, but not get lost in the the information that's being pushed out there to people. To It's essentially like a brainwashing thing, of course that's in there, like anything else. It's the new TV, it's just like growing up, you had to be careful what you watched and everything like that, and the programming that was coming through the television. But the programming is a lot more intense on social media because it like hits you differently. It's a different energy, so you really got to be careful of what you're looking at. But for us, and what we teach people in our program is like, hey, this social media is no longer for personal use. Like, just let go of the whole desire to take a picture of your fun day, because it's like you want to be on it as least as possible. So like, we want nothing to do with it. I don't have a personal outreach. She doesn't have a personal outreach. We put nothing personal on it. It's all the message that we're giving the world, and we really have tight boundaries with that, and that's all that we really put out. When people interact with us one-on-one, we're the same person as we are on the camera. We have nothing to hide, but there's no reason to like make it like a loose thing for us. It's a very everything we do is intentional. So and it will pay you back. I mean, there's a guy out there, his name's Gary V. A lot of people, he's a little edgy, but he says it really bluntly. And if you look at some of the big entrepreneurs in the world, they'll say the same thing, like, social media is here to stay. It's only going to get bigger. If you don't get on it, you're going to get lost in the dust. And 10 years from now, it's like, if you want a thriving business, you better learn how to stay with the time. So I kind of saw that years ago, and I'm kind of glad that we chose to do what we did.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, both of you. And what I'm hearing is somehow a way that technology and social media, what we with today, and what is growing, is a way to support us to live more closely. Nikki, you mentioned a crashing 9-to-5 job on your website, and you've spoken to it today as well. So a way that we can support ourselves to connect with that part in us that has a message for the world, that wants to share and to speak and to transmit from that authentic place. And how social media, used with intention, used carefully and properly and directed to that end, supports that ability to free ourselves essentially from what I have felt in my life has been, as you say, soul crushing. It feels like slavery to me, to not be connected to that part that's truly authentic and wants to come through. So I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, you mentioned freedom. I don't know if you said freedom, but you said something about being free. And that is like my top priority in my life. I just want freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want. Like Mike mentioned that I think he mentioned earlier that we recently moved. So last year we moved and across the country, and short of the 2 days of travel and like the couple days of unpacking, nothing changed for us because our business is solely online. And when I was an attorney, I was literally home for like 2.5 waking hours a day before when I got home from work. And then I was back, and then I was asleep, and then I was awake getting ready for work. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why? I'm going somewhere that I can't stand all day long, every day. I'm dreading Mondays. I'm looking forward to Fridays. I'm dreading 9 a.m., looking forward to 5 p.m. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And it's funny, when I was thinking of language to use on my website and my program, like what I was going to say was a soul sucking 9 to 5, but that just seemed a little dramatic. So I went with soul crushing, which I was still wondering, like, is that just like, maybe I should, and I'm like, no, that's what it is. It was a soul crushing 9 to 5. And with social media, it allowed me to create this life of freedom where I can love my work, still make money to support myself, still make a difference, but yet be able to, on some degree, do what I want whenever I want. And like being my own boss, like that actually was a top priority. But being your own boss and freedom, it's the same thing.
And for me, like the background that I'm coming from, 10 years ago, I was in the military. I got out. I was going to be using all like my skill set and my desires at the time. I wanted to get into law enforcement. I was trying really hard to get into law enforcement. And it was like a passion of mine. I didn't hate my job like she did. I actually thought I loved it. But when I had the crack in reality and I woke up, I realized like everything that I liked at that point, I wanted nothing to do with anymore. I realized what it was doing to me. And when I kind of climbed out of that, I spent a couple years like just making money in really unique ways. Like I started a little business. I was just kind of like floating around the universe. I really had no grounding at all. I let myself just get torn apart and put back together over and over and over again. And then when I became a coach is when I kind of grounded in like, okay, I'm starting to find something. Um, and I was started off really well. And then when I use social media for my coaching, I actually was getting so many people. I actually even told her, I was I don't want any more people. Like I need to like back off. So I don't even use social media anymore, but everything is for her. But really what set us free was when we really focused on what we wanted to do, then things started to shift for us. And one thing for us is we really want to, and that's when I really was able to um, really see who I was, when I was able to let go of my old like ways of wanting to live and everything like that. But we use our freedom, in my opinion, to benefit like ourselves and everything else around us. Like we just want to be good. The freedom that we use is like we like to give energy back to the universe that is happy. And I think it's important that, you know, people think being free or like being people would, you can either look at it as being, we like to do nothing a lot of the times. Like we like to have a whole day of like just nothing on our schedule, and do we just want to just like do absolutely nothing with whatever we feel like in the moment. And a lot of people would look at that like I don't know, like lazy or like whatever, but living a happy life just in your own little world, it helps populate a very good energy into the universe. And I think people need to allow themselves to like get let go of the programming of needing to be something and doing something all the time, and letting things find you and feed you. And because we really have noticed that the more we take care of ourselves in that sense, of being free, like if we just want to lay out in the sun all day and go for a walk with our dogs, and that's an awesome day for us. We couldn't really ask anything else. And that's enough for us. And we really have found freedom in just being extremely, extremely simple people.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I think that's lost. We've lost that as a culture, global culture, and individually with each other, and in the one life that I know mentioned earlier, that is something that has gone. That the idea that we are free souls, and that we can be free in living. If we want to lay in the sun, we can. If we want to take a walk, we can, or read a book. That the beauty and exquisiteness of that has been massively crushed by the business world and this big patriarchal system that we're in, that's been, going for thousands of years. I was just wondering, when you were talking about that, have you, with just in your daily interactions, have you come up against any resistance to that way of thinking or that way of being, or any obstacles? And if so, how have you maneuvered through them or worked with them from a heart-centered, soul-led place?
Well, I mean, it's not always like fluffy, because there's been times she's had to grind out like literally like for like a couple months straight, 50, 60, 70 hour weeks. Like people don't realize it's going to take an insane amount of work too. So like you got to dive into that end of it too, but it builds. It builds momentum. And even for us, I mean, when we were there was a couple months there, and literally all you do is you wake up and you work all day and you go to bed. Like we do that too. But it's only, we have balance with it. We know that there's an end to it. We have to, if we want to reach that next level, we knew something was coming and we just said no to everything. Everybody knew that we were just like working all day long on stuff or focused. Every single ounce of our conversation was like 100% focused on our business sometimes. And then you literally can reach burnout to the point where like you're done. And you got to drink coffee to get up the next day. Like we go through that. So we do dive into that energy too, and we use it because we know we have to use it. But then we back way off. Once we get the momentum going, we recover, we get back to our center, and and we're probably gonna have to go through it again here, do that again, but it's fun too.
When you feel passionate about what you're doing and you have purpose in what you're doing, it's not that bad. So he mentioned, 50, 70-hour weeks and then reaching burnout. We recently just finally, after a year, launched our professional animal communicator program. And it was a lot. Like it was probably the hardest I've ever worked, I think, in my entire life to create this. So in the midst of literally doing 12, 13-hour days every single day, we still had the awareness of like, okay, we're non-negotiable. We're walking our dogs, right? I'm meditating in the morning. Like I still need to do things. Otherwise I'm not going to be able to sustain this. But I think what's important is that you have to have, like, I'm really big on, you're going to create the reality that you want. So if you're constantly thinking about how it's never going to work, I don't have enough money, I hate my job, like that's what you're going to get more of. So every day while we're creating this program, it was just keeping ourselves in check of, if I'm feeling stressed, why? Something's out of balance. Come back to my why, come back to what we're doing and what's out of alignment and fix that. Because if not, you're just going to create more of what you don't want. And then what's the point of that? So you definitely can work a lot more when you start working for yourself, but it doesn't really feel like work all the time because like you're creating something that's uniquely yours. And I think that's the special part. But there have definitely been so many days where like every conversation we have is something business. And there have been some nights where we're like laying in bed with our dogs. It's like, I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And he goes to say something. I'm like, stop. Nope. We're tomorrow. We're not talking about that right now. And we just laugh and we both do it because we're like, we need that shut off point of like, no business. Like, let's come back to like real life or just non-business life.
I think when you have a purpose or when you know the reason behind what you're doing, it's important to not forget that reason. And then, like, I have a whole lesson, and this is just something that we've learned, is that if you forget about the reason behind what you're doing, drop everything. That's time for you to take time off and to take a vacation until you find your way back to that reason and anchor yourself in it. Then go hardcore off of that reason. But once you lose sight of the reason, you just turn into a robot repeating patterns and you lose the intuitive connection that you have to what's guiding you. But that reason is everything. So everybody has different reasons. She's here for the animals on the planet 100%, and I was kind of given a message years ago that what my reason was. And my reason isn't really actually to have like a standalone reason. And my reason from my conceptual, how I processed my experience was I'm actually here to help other people help other people. So, her and the other man that I work for and the other people that I help, they're actually on the front lines doing it. And I feel like my place is kind of in the background supporting a couple people doing really good things. But that's like what I connect in with. And then her connection is like 100% the animals. And there's some deeper connections into that from her experiences, but we just cannot lose sight behind like really what we're doing. And that's like the biggest thing when you start to want to create something in kind of that new energy.
Thanks, Michael. I love that. And yeah, what I'm feeling as I feel you both is Emma and I are working with this idea of business being circular rather than linear, rather than chasing external power, which is burnout. And underneath that, we feel is a fear, linked to trying to satiate that fear of survival, which you can never satiate from outside things. And so for us, it's coming back into a circular energy, a circular consciousness. And what I'm feeling as you're speaking is at the center of that circle is that fire, is that purpose, is that alignment to who you are. I've really hear that, Mike, when you're speaking, like hearing that what you here for is to support others, and Nikki, that you here to help animals, and that you're both really clear on your own purpose. And that's at the center of your own heart fire, the center of your own circle. And then from that, you can kind of join together, knowing your own purpose. You can join together for a bigger purpose, which is your business, and how that you anchor that in your core and you keep coming back to that, which, Mike, you said anchors you in supporting you to keep that balance. Because I think that is the challenge of business today. It is there's so much burnout, so much mental health problems, and you two are managing to hold a balance. And I love that there's the yin and the yang. There's hard work, and there's long days at times, and we're happy to do that. And at the core, there's this awareness of coming back to ourselves, and where is the balance. And some days we're just going to take off and reconnect to that. And yeah, I love that. I love feeling that. And yeah, would you resonate with what I've just said? Is that correct?
Yeah, I definitely resonate with what you said, Iona. And it reminded me of something that we said earlier about integrity. We used that word. I don't know if it was you or if it was Mike, if someone used the word integrity. And what I find fascinating is that I get told, because I've been on a lot of podcasts and some TV shows and some news appearances and stuff. And what I get told all the time is, wow, Nikki, you're the same person in person as you are on camera. And the first couple times I heard that, I was like, well, duh. Like, I didn't say that, but I'm thinking, well, what do you, like, yeah, what do you mean? And then the more I got into this world of social media and media, I realized, oh, maybe that's not the norm. And it's like, if you're trying to create a business where you're one person in your business or on camera or to other people, but you're not really that person in your real life, like, you're never going to make it. You're going to burn out. You're not heart-centered. You're not connected with your why. It takes so much energy to be two people. Like, when I was a lawyer, it was all a show. I felt like I was living two lives. Like, my voice was even different in court versus outside of court. And I'm like, what is going on? Right? Like, I wasn't trying to be someone different, but it was my way of like protecting my energy because that field was so not in alignment with me. So what you just said, Iona, just made me think back to integrity, and like, you have to just stay true to yourself in every aspect of your life, especially if you're trying to create a soul-led business, because otherwise it's just going to combust at some point.
Yeah, and if it takes away from what you know is right for you, like, no matter how cool of an opportunity you think it is, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and to that, last year now, I got so burnt out. I went to Thailand with my friend to volunteer at an elephant sanctuary, and it was amazing. But we were operating on a 12-hour time difference. So I had a Wall Street Journal article come out about me as I was traveling back home from Thailand. And I didn't even know how big Wall Street Journal was. I don't know anything about any of this stuff. I'm just like, let me talk to animals and help the animals. So I get off the plane. I'm in Doha and over far away. And I have like 20 emails from producers and news people and all these things, reporters. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? And my friend she used to work for the Red Cross and she did the media for the Red Cross. So she just was like, well, what did you expect, Nikki? It's the Wall Street Journal. I'm like, who's that? Like, I've heard of like Wall Street. And she's like, oh my gosh. But I got so overwhelmed because I felt like I needed to say yes to everyone because it was opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. But it was too much. The 12-hour time difference didn't help. But what Mike said that stuck with me, and I tell my students about it all the time, is if the opportunity doesn't excite you, then why do it? Like, I don't care what it is. If you're not excited about it, it's not in alignment. And there are times where it's like, okay, you're not excited because maybe you're nervous, and you have to step out of your comfort zone. I'm not saying don't do that, but at the core of you, like, are you excited to do this? And if you're not, then don't do it, because you're in control of your life.
Yeah. Thanks, Nikki. And I love hearing that piece around, that there is fear can be there, anxiety can be there, but connected to that is that excitement, even when you're scared and when you have resistance. And it can just be because there's parts of you that are scared of that breakthrough into the bigger you, into the bigger self.
Totally.
Yeah, so I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And I really resonated in terms of what's going on in the world about having this sort of dual personalities around what's put out on social media and what people are exposed to constantly 24/7 these days because everyone's bombarded, and that how that leads to burnout because we can't be a facade constantly. It's an impossible, it's draining. And it is, when you also earlier on when you were saying about soul sucking, it reminded me of that sort of vampiric energy where you do feel completely drained. Something has drained your energy and you might not be able to pinpoint it. But when we're completely aligned with what we're doing and we have that excitement and that buzz, and there's that the why is really strong within us, then we're so full that we radiate out the energy, and the energy wants to find its expression, and it does that through us. And in a way, it has to find its expression because what else is it going to do? And yeah, and I really love that. It just really sparks something in me about wanting to really bring that message to the world, and particularly with young people who feel so. We've just had some studies over here which have come out the other day about how young people are so influenced by what they see on their phones. And I know it's sort of old hat in a way, but in a way it's not, because the research is finally catching up with what everyone else has been saying. And yeah, it reminded me of that teachers were on. I was listening to a teacher the other day saying that literally students can look at their phone at lunchtime, and then their whole afternoon is decimated because of what they've seen and how they're comparing themselves. It's like the old saying, comparison is the thief of all joy. And yet, and if, yeah, so by comparing themselves to what's an impossible image online or idea or concept online that's probably fake anyway, they're totally drained. We're totally drained. We've probably all experienced that. And yet when we come back to this beautiful self and soul and heart that we all are, and come back to that connection and that resonance of why the buzz of the excitement of what really turned us on, and then that gives us our why, then anything's possible. Everything is available. Everything's abundant. Everything is within our reach, and more than we can possibly imagine. If we, yeah, and I just, yeah, I love that. I really really resonated with what you said there, and how important it is to bring this new way of being and creating businesses, this coming back to the truth of who we are, so that we can bring that energy and that wisdom to younger people, well, and older, whoever it's going to touch. It feels so vital at this point in time with what's happening in the world. Yeah.
It doesn't replace human connection, and it definitely doesn't replace a grounded reality by any stretch of the imagination. So people cannot use, I mean, people do use it as their outlet for connection, and it's a very superficial connection because people aren't really connected with family, with themselves, and they're trying to find something in the midst of a very, very augmented reality. And it's just going to really fracture them even more. So, if somebody is fractured and somebody is sensitive, I mean, the last place that they really want to be is on social media. So, unless you're complete and you know the difference between your thoughts and what's being fed you, it's not really a place that you want to be. And that's why it is very damaging for children who are putting together their reality and creating their perception on what is the world, because they're not allowing it to come from themselves. It's really being, I mean, they're just being fed. Um, so yeah, it's a tool, and if you do not use it as a tool and you look at it like truth, then you're gonna be thrown around, because it's not truth and it's not even really information. It's just a tool. Um, so that's why there's 50 different ways to do everything and everybody's right. So, you know, um, but you can connect very strongly on the other end of it with good things. Um, so
Yeah, and you can definitely radiate out amazing energy. When I was looking at your website, I was thinking, wow, I mean, it inspired me into animal communication. I was thinking, hang on, I'm already, I've got the own things that I'm doing. But it's just what you're saying, using it and mastering it. It, your energy just vibrates out, and it's so warm and welcoming and inspiring. And yeah, it seems that what you're doing is really changing the way, well, literally that we are with animals, which I think is absolutely vital as well. This time that we live in, where yeah, that's so beautiful, and also the way there's some. I feel like I wish I could capture. There must be a way of teaching about how we can bring this connecting with the world through soul, through media, because I really felt that from how you've done your social media as well, which I thought was awesome. Yeah, really
Oh,
really awesome.
it's it's a struggle for a lot of my students, the social media piece. Like we do, Mike mentioned strategy sessions because our online program is very much invite only. Like there's not a link on my website where it's like buy now, because it's a lifetime access program. I want to make sure it's actually what you want. I want to make sure we're a good fit for each other. I don't want to work with someone for life that I can't provide what they actually need, right? So when I meet with our potential students, one of the questions I ask them is, what do you think about social media? Because I want to get a sense right away, like what their blocks are with it or whether they're for it. And so many are like, I hate it, but, and I'm just like, okay, yep, I did too. And it's just, we have to restructure how we think about it because we're thinking of all the negatives and the negatives, which are there. But it's like, if you learn how to use it intentionally, it really can be a beautiful flower for your business, especially if you want to create a life of freedom from home, like an online business. So it just goes back to, what do you want? What's your priority? And like, okay, how can we get there in the most aligned way possible?
yeah, you got to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
You got to honestly not care what the world thinks of you.
I always
That's
say,
like the biggest thing.
oh, well, actually, in one of my lessons, I say, if you're going into this hoping that the internet likes you will forever be disappointed because no matter what you're doing, no matter what good you're doing, there will always be people online painting you as the worst person on the planet. So, like, you cannot go into it wanting to be accepted by the internet. Like, you got to just let that go. And it takes time. It's hard. When I first started on social media, the hate comments, I call them keyboard warriors, they really derailed me for a while. But Mike said something that shifted everything for me. He said, Nikki, these negative comments are only affecting you because you're not confident in your message, in your work. And I was like, you're right. So now when I get a negative comment, I just like laugh. It doesn't even, I just send that person love. And I'm like, well, hope you have a better day. Like, cause I would never comment on someone's video that I didn't agree with something awful. I'd be like, okay, not for me, you know? So it definitely takes time and confidence to get there, but you can do it if you want to.
Yeah, I mean her work is taboo. You know, people bring a lot of their belief systems into it. It doesn't align with the way that they believe. It doesn't align with their reality. So they lash out, you know. People have lived their whole lives not realizing that that they are missing out on so much of what the human experience has to offer. Um, so, you know, we really do, the people that it's a two-sided thing. You can get the lash from the people that don't want to accept or don't want to think about anything outside of their box that they live in, whether it's due to a belief system or some sort of, you know, way that they've been programmed. Um, or the other side of it is we get the people that are just like us. It's like a channel for people to find us that think like her and to think like us, a little more open-minded, and to really see what this is about. So, and then it's just really about moving past that stigma that just because it's not mainstream doesn't mean that it's not real or that it's not authentic or true or good. Um, so that is a benefit of the social media and the age of information that we are in, is that it connects everything to everybody. Like, if you look now, you can compare different belief systems from all over the world instantly. When 50 years ago, people were grown up believing a certain thing, but they never heard about anything else. They couldn't. There was no external pressure on to even test what they believe is real. So now it's just a constant bombardment of always testing everything, and people are calling everybody this and that, and this is real and that's not. But you really have to have that center so you can decipher for yourself. But so yeah, the age of information really pushes you. You got to be confident in yourself. You got to know what's right for you, and you also got to take time away from the external, all of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We've somehow lost Iona, but still recording, so hopefully she can pop back in. But yeah, that was absolutely awesome. I feel like I could go on for another hour or so, and yeah, but it is time. It looks like the time has come to an end. So we're going to end with a meditation. And to everyone listening or watching, if you want to join in this meditation now for closing today's session, then please do. And if you like, please like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here at Redefining Success. And deepest gratitude and thanks to you, Nikki and Mike. Thank you so much for joining us today. Do you want us to put a link into your website at the bottom? I know you said is it by invitation only?
No, you definitely can. The
Yeah,
information
right.
for my programs on my website. I just meant
Yeah.
people can't just buy my course on my website. What they would do is schedule a call with us. So you certainly can link my website. It's just my name, nikkivasconez.com.
Okay, great. So we'll add that as a link in the description below. And yeah, please like and subscribe. And we will see you next time. Thank you everyone for joining. We're going to close now with a invitation to come back into the self. So please close your eyes and take a deep breath into your heart center. And just let your breath find its way into your heart very gently, coming back into who you are. Thanking yourselves here now for all that you are, for all that we are, for the one life. And as we breathe, just noticing how our hearts receive that breath. Maybe we can make a little bit more room for some more breath, for some more love, for some more kindness and compassion. And let your heart soften into that. And as you breathe, imagine beautiful, sparkling life force energy coming into your heart. Imagine it can fill your lungs and fill your whole body from your head to your toes, your fingertips. It's beautiful life force energy, like the sparkles on water when it's blessed by the sunlight. The fire meeting the water. Bringing life force energy into your entire body and letting yourself soften into that beauty, into that space where everything is connected, where we're connected to ourselves, to each other, and to the one life. So it is, and so may it be. And then in your own time, come back to the light. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time with so much love. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.